not to shout support for their government, no, to support the fire. They chanted, "Burn, Parliament, burn," with one man being arrested for excessive cheering. On your right there, you can see some of our MPs out on the balcony, so feel free to give them a wave, or use any other hand gesture that you might deem appropriate. I won't judge. Now, this is actually our MP's cafeteria. You may notice they are coloured red and green, the same as Westminster Bridge as we just passed under, and Lambeth Bridge up ahead of us. This colour scheme actually continues well within Parliament, to the corridors, debating chambers, and the taxpayer-funded shooting galleries you'll find inside, in order to represent the two houses within. We have our House of Lords, they are represented by the Reds, and are stated by the monarch to weigh in on decisions made by our House of Commons, represented by the Green. They are fully elected and there to make those decisions. Now, supposedly these colour schemes are to help keep the two houses separate in order to avoid corruption. I'll say no more on that. On your right now, the small hut there on top of the stairs are the Blackbird Steps. Nowadays, where the head of security resides. Originally though, this was the UK's smallest prison. One of its most infamous prisoners having been Guy Fawkes. He was kept here overnight after his plan to block Parliament was foiled, after which he was taken by boat down the Thames to the Tower of London. This is the journey we're doing today. On your right now, Lambeth Bridge. Any Harry Potter fans today, you may recognise this from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, as this is where the night bus squeezes between two double-decker buses on its way to the Leaky Cauldron. Now ahead of you, St Thomas's Hospital. This is where our MPs and monarchy stay whenever they are unwell. Most notably, Boris Johnson stayed here with his bad hangover, from COVID-19, oops. Any nurses that train here are known as Nightingales in honour of Florence Nightingale. That's the Westminster on your left now, 3 distinct towers. Victoria Tower, the tallest in Parliament, and also fireproof, as our parliamentary archives are kept in there. In the middle, St Stephen's Tower, actually a chimney, letting all the hot air and smoke out of Parliament. Trust me, there is a lot of it. And then finally, guys, with a show of hands, who can see Big Ben? No, you can't. Put your hands down. We are looking at the Elizabeth Clock Tower. Big Ben is the name of the bell inside the tower. It weighs 13.7 tons and is supposedly named after the commissioner of the works at the time of its installation, Sir Benjamin Hall. He was known to be a rather large and loud man who did not treat his employees too kindly. As such, when a rather large and loud bell arrived, they had the perfect name for it. Let's just be grateful he wasn't called Richard, eh? Now for some shameful self-promotion. On your right here, you'll see the world-famous London Eye. Standing at 135 metres tall, it is the world's tallest cantilevered observation wheel. Cantilevered meaning supported from only one side, as opposed to a Ferris wheel which is supported from two sides. My manager gets upset when I use the F word on board the boat, so from now on we can only refer to it as a cantilevered observation wheel. Around the sides you'll find 32 observation pods, one for every borough of Greater London. However, these pods are numbered 1 through 33 now. This isn't due to a secret 33rd pod. This is because when the eye was opening, a survey was put out asking people how confident they feel, stood 135 metres above the ground in a pod number 13. The superstitious amongst us said they didn't fancy their chances, so we decided not to have one. The Eye was designed as part of a competition to add a brand new landmark to London skyline for the year 2000 millennium, and it came in second, so it lost. However, British Airways liked it so much they built it themselves for £75 million. Next up are two Golden Jubilee footbridges, the newest bridges to cross the Thames here in London, installed in 2002 for the late Queen Elizabeth II's Golden Jubilee. In the middle you'll find the Hungerford Railway Bridge. This connects Charing Cross train station on your left to the south side of the river on your right. Charing Cross train station was supposedly designed to look like a steam engine coming out of a tunnel with smoke billowing behind it. However, like all art, it is subjective and up for your own interpretation. When I look at it, I just kind of see a toaster. Now the space between the Hungerford Railway Bridge and the river is the one place you can be suspended both above and below a train. This is because the underground does run parallel, so technically we have just passed through a train sandwich, otherwise known as a subway. On your right now, the South Bank Centre. It began after the Royal Festival of Britain in 1951. This festival was to be a tonic to the nation to lift Britain's spirits after the end of the Second World War, and it was completely BYOR. Bring your own rations, as at this time resources were still incredibly scarce. Royal Festival Hall is now home to London's Philharmonic Orchestra and has hosted the BAFTAs multiple times this year, even being the host to Eurovision in 1960. Next up we have Waterloo Bridge, fondly known in London as the Ladies' Bridge. This is because at the time when the majority of men were off fighting the Second World War, this bridge was destroyed in the Blitz. As such, the workforce commissioned to rebuild it was 90% female, and I would like to point out it is the only bridge in London to have been built on time and under budget. I was surprised? Absolutely not. On your right now, you'll see a pretty standard example of brutalist architecture. The National Theatre was voted as the ugliest building in the UK, with our very own King Charles III stating it specifically looked like the back end of a nuclear power station. Now, I haven't seen many of those in my time, so do not know if that is accurate. But what I do know is that it is what's on the inside that counts. Once inside the National, you'll find 3 gorgeous theatres that are often used as launch pads for many shows that have West End and Broadway runs. Some more recent examples of national shows to receive West End transfers include The Motive in the Queue, Standing at the Sky's Edge, and The Crucible. It is also said to be a hub of culture, with many Shakespeare and Charles Dickens plays still being put on there. Most culturally impactful though is that this month it's home to none other than SpongeBob the Musical. Now, next up on your right, the red building there with the tower on top. Those of you familiar with the British stock cube company Oxo might be forgiven for thinking the tower spells Oxo's name. You may also be forgiven for thinking this, as it is Oxo's very own warehouse. However, on a technicality, this tower says nothing at all. If you aren't already aware, we are currently on the River Thames. It is a royal highway, meaning it's illegal to advertise alongside it. So back in the 1930s, when Oxo put that tower up, they were quite rightly taken to court. And they either had a very clever lawyer or a very gullible judge. As the lawyer said, no, the tower doesn't spell our company's name. We've just ordered some randomly geometrically shaped windows, 2 circles and 2 straight lines. We've put them up in a super random order that just happened to spell our company's name. The judge said, yeah, of course, easy mistake to make, and the case was thrown out. So Oxford remained the only company to legally advertise on the Thames. It is said that the judge never worked again, as he became known as a laughing stock. Now, here in London, we've got a fun habit of nicknaming our skyscrapers. The newest addition to your right here with the bump on the side is actually called Number 1 Blackfriars. It was built to be affordable housing. The one apartment here will cost you £8 million. If this is affordable to you, hi, my name is Tanis, looking for new friends. Our nickname suggestions have been the cocktail shaker, the baby bum, the boomerang, but most popular seems to be the Kim Kardashian. I'll let you make your own assumptions as to why that one is. Now, stop our 2.5 Blackfriars bridges. This is the Red Road Bridge, where Victorians believed salt and fresh water to mix and meet along the Thames. They were so sure of this that they engraved freshwater birds onto one side of the bridge and salt water onto the other. However, we do now know this mix happens about 9 miles away in Richmond, so whilst the Victorians were wrong, salt water under the bridge now. Your first glimpses of St. Paul's Cathedral. Standing at 365 foot tall, it is the world's second tallest dome cathedral, second only to St. Peter's in the Vatican. Paddington 2 fans, you may recognise it from that nail-biting scene where Hugh Grant, dressed as a nun, accidentally pushes an angel out of a whispering gallery. Now, looking at the top of St. Paul's, you'll notice there are no tall buildings around it, and that the skyscrapers they do have are some pretty weird shapes. This falls due to an ancient law that says you must be able to see St. Paul's from 8 ski points around the city. It's for this reason the City of London School on your left there has a glass atrium in the middle. This is for the sole purpose of seeing St. Paul's directly from the Thames. Now, next up on our right there, about to reveal itself, is the world famous Shakespeare Globe. This version of the globe was completed all the way back in 1997. We do reckon the globe has been torn down and rebuilt around 4 times, the second time being in 1613, during a production of Henry VIII, in which a misfired prop cannon caused the building to catch alight, burning it to the ground in just 2 hours. So talk about a show that brings the house down. It was then rebuilt within a year and continued operating until 1642, at which time the Puritans took over, decided that theatre was a sin, and so banned it completely. The Globe opens its summer season on April 23rd every year, as it is Shakespeare's birthday, supposedly also the day he died. Now, nobody actually knows what Shakespeare died of. Many historians do reckon it would have been as a result of tuberculosis, but historians say it was likely a different cause. This gives us the question of TB or not TB. Now, you can go and see a show at the Globe for as little as £5 for a standing ticket or upwards of £13 for a seated ticket. Now, I wouldn't be a tour of London without talking to you about a pub. So on your right there, you'll see the Anchor Tavern, one of London's oldest riverside pubs. Many of our famous writers have drank here, most notably Charles Dickens. He was said to have written his best ghost stories looking at the spirits behind the bar. And a diver, Samuel Pepys, even watched the Great Fire of London burn the city down from those very windows. Next up on your right, under all of that scaffolding there, is a real-life pirate ship. Kind of. This is a replica of Sir Francis Drake's The Golden Hind. He originally sailed this back in the Elizabethan era when he decided to go to Spain and steal some gold. Once he'd done this, he didn't quite fancy facing the Spanish on the way back, so just kept sailing. By doing this, he accidentally became the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe. He returned 3 years later with half of his crew and enough gold to pay off England's debts 3 times over. So, how did we punish him for this piracy? We didn't. We gave him an estate and a knighthood. Just goes to show, kids, crime does pay. Well, if you've got friends in the aristocracy, that is. But now, the moment you have all waited for, the world famous, the magnificent and the iconic London Bridge is behind you. Yes, the rather boring grey bridge we just passed by is the real London Bridge. Our bridge, which you see in front of us, is not the London Bridge, which people just getting it wrong. Back in 2006, Singer first wrote and recorded an entire song in the London Bridge. And that filmed her music videos working away in front of Tower Bridge. Now, as the next man suggests, London Bridge genuinely kept falling down. The version we just passed on, it was only completed in the 1960s, but a version of this bridge has stood there for the past 2,000 years or so. The first time it was built by the Romans and made out of wood, it was actually destroyed by the Vikings as they sailed down the Thames. We'll have a bit more on the other versions later. In the meantime, if I could just remind everyone on the top deck to please remain seated for us. We do want to make sure everyone can get the photos they want without your lovely heads in them, so do please be mindful of those around you. On your right now, it might be tricky to see as it is in camouflage, but this 12,000-ton battleship is the HMS Belfast. It was built in the same docks as the Titanic, but went on to have a much more successful career. It played an integral role in the Second World War, having been one of the first ships to fire shots at the D-Day landings, as well as being the ship responsible for sinking Hitler's boat, the Scharnhorst. The guns on board can shoot up to 12 miles away and are currently aimed at the M1 service station in Scratchwood. If you get driving today, we recommend planning toilet trips accordingly. But now, for a bridge that even Taylor Swift would be proud of, we have Tower Bridge. It is vascular, meaning seesaw in French, as the centre opens up to allow tall ships through. The bascules weigh 1,100 tons each. They take a minute and a half to fully open and 90 seconds to fully close. In its first year of operating, it's estimated Tower Bridge would have risen about 6,000 times. Nowadays, though, it is a lot rarer. However, if you did have 24 hours notice and a tall enough ship, they will happily open Tower Bridge up for you for free, as river traffic always takes priority over road traffic. The one day of the year they will not open Tower Bridge is the day of the London Marathon, and this is due to the fact it would be very difficult to run over an open bridge. Might make it a bit more interesting though, turn into a triathlon, who knows. Now, there's an old sailor's legend that says if you receive a wave from someone on Tower Bridge, you get 5 years good luck. And I don't know about you guys, but I need all the good luck I can get. So get waving, make some noise, and get their attention, guys. You can do better than that, guys. Come on, get waving. There you go, good job. Can I go out and buy lottery tickets now? I will take 20% of any wins. We are now in the Old Port of London, at one time said to be so full of boats that you could hop from ship to ship to ship without getting so much as your toe wet. For any American friends joining us on board today, further up the river here you would find the area of Rotherhithe. This is where the Mayflower first set sail from, taking the pilgrims to the US. In true British fashion, we've commemorated this by having a pub on the same spot, also by the name of the Mayflower. And now on your left, the best views you'll get at Tower Bridge. To get your phones out, take your photos. Once again, please to remain seated and be mindful of those around you. If you do post these anywhere, feel free to hashtag us. hashtag London anniversaries, hashtag is Tower Bridge not London Bridge, and hashtag get it right Fergie. Now, any Marvel fans on board the boat today, you may recognise the top of Tower Bridge as where Spider-Man had his infamous fight with Mysterio. You can actually go up here yourself for just £11.50 as part of the Tower Bridge experience. Once up there, you will find some glass walkways though, so if this is something you'd like to do, we recommend planning your outfits accordingly, as whilst you'll be able to look down at the river and all of the people on it. All of the people in the river will be able to look up at you. On your right now, you'll see the Grizzly and the Gruesome Tower of London. First built by William the Conqueror in 1066 after he conquered. It was then completed by his son William II in the year 1100, and it has since served as a home of torture and death here in the UK. Now, in order to be executed actually inside the tower via decapitation, you did have to be a member of nobility. As such, only 22 people were ever executed inside. The only commoner executed inside was Guy Fawkes. He was taken in by entry to the Traitor's Gate on your right-hand side there. He was then tortured below for 10 days and rewarded with his execution inside the tower. The remaining 200 or so people were executed just outside on Tower Hill via hanging. If you were to go to the Tower of London, we recommend not paying for a tour. Once inside, you'll find the Yeoman Wardens, also known as the Beefeaters. They live inside the tower, so are the best experts on it. And if